In this small video I'd like to show you how you can make use of the debugger of Compass. Here we have the dwarf example. As you see, you have a number of different functions, operations, processes. If we move into the debug option here, I can choose what debug configuration I'd like. In this case I'll choose the dwarf and the dwarf example. And if you look at the processes, I only had that one process I could choose, and I'll say debug. The debug perspective is coming up. It's initializing its different things, and over here we see the different options we have. We can always choose a talk, and then the talk comes up in the history of observable events. But let's try to choose init. Init is now listed up here after talk, and you see the possible choices being highlighted on the other side. If we just click once on it, you can see which one it would choose. If we choose another one, you can see another one being chosen. If we double click it, we've chosen it, and it's moved up to the history. Now let's try to set these signals. Let's try to see what else we have. We have currently running test tree. Test tree is one that is going to try to move from dark to warning, so it's actually going to fail. Try to extinguish like this. You can see this other process down here is now ready to extinguish again on L2. Try doing that. We moved on. We're now kind of go to a warning state like this. Let's choose the set PS. Now here you see what the light is like, and if we move down here, try to put the light L2, and we have a precondition violation. Now in the future this would enable us also to see what variables we have up here at any point of time. And over here we will be able to see the different processes. Now all the processes are terminated now, but he will get information about them. But in order to give you a better idea of what this can be used for, let's try to move over here and see. I could even put a breakpoint. So if I put a breakpoint inside some of the operations here, I can also do it in the post conditions. I can't do it on lines where there's no executable things, so that will fail. It doesn't put a small marker there. The markers are indicating that these are things that can be executed and that can be debugged. Now if we try running the debugger again, we choose our dwarf example once more, we'll see that it's coming up just like before. If we choose init, it will move to the place in that operation, because it's like suspended, because we put a breakpoint here. Now in the future, eventually we'll be able to kind of see what's the variables, so we can actually debug what's happening at a particular place. We can see what breakpoints have been set, and let's move back to seeing these other ones. Now what we have here of options is we can kind of say eventually we'll be able to step into things and step over things. Now we'll just say resume, and we'll come back to our choices over here. We can select things. We go essentially the same thing as we did before. If we don't want to go all the way, we could just say I'll abort this execution, terminate it, and it will stop this execution. You'll see it's terminated up here. If we try to, instead of using the one we just used, try to use this one called run. So we go in here, we can select a run configuration. If we choose dwarf again, then instead of wanting us to do the selection, it is doing the selection for us. So if we look into the debug perspective, you can see it's choosing lots of choices, lots of talks, and eventually it went to the precondition violation. We can't control how many talks it takes, is just choosing arbitrarily. You can see the process eventually is going to the place where we got this problem. We could also try to see if we could get the working test thing instead. So if we want the working test, instead of having test 3 as the one we would like to take, well, let's try to take test 1. Let's save this again with the Control S. Let's try to move back and say, let's try to run this one, the dwarf example, and we should probably be in a debug perspective. This time we should not get a runtime error in the same way as before, and we'll see long lists of events happening without really anything sensible going on. Well, you can see what sensible things are going on at the bottom, but eventually we will say, well, I don't want to go any further. I'll just say terminate, and then we'll be able to inspect both the history up here, what has been happening, but also seeing the detailed logging that is currently available up here. I hope that you will gain benefit out of using the debugger.